forward then. Hello, Carol. Thank you so much for joining us. Wow, what can I say?
Hello.
I mean,
it's my pleasure. Thank you.
You've got a legend here.
A legend.
Is it? I mean, I remember you from your EastEnders days. I mean, I was kind of just doing some research because, like, you have to, and I'm kind of going, wait here, this is 20 years ago. Is
that... You don't look that old either, do you?
No, Carol, you don't. You still look young.
No, I meant you, not me. Oh, well, you know, I try.
Do you still get remembered for a lot of that anyway, for being on EastEnders, or is that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I do all the time, and it's great because I really enjoy that. I enjoy that. You know, I enjoy that you've affected people in some way, you know, and the character made such an impact that it's there stuck in their brains like it was yesterday, and in fact it was 20 years ago, you know. So I really enjoy that people still remember me from that, and all the other things that I've done as well, you know. So people tend to remember me from different things. Obviously EastEnders was such, you know, you're in people's living rooms 3-4 times a week, so you become very, very, very familiar. But I mean, I was well known before I went in there for other things as well. So you know, people know me from different points in their life, you know, from different shows. But as I say, you know, obviously the character that I played in EastEnders made such a sort of impact that people remember it, and most people go, God, I can't believe it was that long ago.
I know that's what. Is it true that you were also in Elephant Man? I mean, you weren't Elephant Man, obviously, but you were.
No, I wasn't. Under that mask, you know. It wasn't me. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to do things like that. But no, that wasn't me, Elephant Man. But I was in Elephant Man, and the great thing about that was working with David Lynch, who's pretty amazing. He just sort of sat in the corner and he had this sort of aura around him, which was marvelous. And really, I've only got a little bit in it, but it was with Michael Elphick as well, who's another fantastic actor. But the funny thing about that was I didn't really tell people very much about it, even because it was quite a small part. But my scream obviously really affected people, because when it was on in Leicester Square, we went to see it. I went to see it with my first husband, and we went outside, and there was a like huge picture of me screaming. We could see my tonsils and everything, you know. I had any, I had them out, but you know, and you know, and the guy said, my husband said to the guy, "Oh, what do you do with the advertising afterwards? Could I have that?" He went, "What do you mean?" He went, well, that's my wife. He went, "Oh yeah, like that." And then he went, no, there she is. And so he went, "Oh my goodness, oh come in, we've got," you know. And so it was that was quite a surprise. But yeah, I do remember Elephant Man, which was a wonderful piece of work, you know, and as I say, in particular working with David Lynch was an honor.
What a great movie to be associated with. I mean, it's such an iconic movie though as well, isn't it? And to kind of be part of that is great. Obviously, as you've said, you've been in so many other pieces in terms of whether it's soap operas and what was it, London's Burning, those kind of things.
And comedy. I've done a lot of comedy as well.
Comedy, yeah. And then obviously bringing you onto EastEnders. I'm just quickly mentioned, did you work with June Brown at all?
For 7 years. Oh yes. Yeah, I worked with Junie. Oh yeah, bless her heart. It's one of those things you just think Junie's going to be around forever, you know. And I loved her. We got on like a house on fire. We were always in the corner giggling with each other and everything. Yeah. And I actually first worked with Junie in 1981. That was the first time I worked with her. I did a comedy series with her then for London Weekend Television. That was called Now and Then, and it was set in sort of present day and the 40s. And she was like the auntie in the 40s, and that was the first time we met, and we really hit it off from then on. And she was just she's a legend. That's a legend for
Yeah,
me.
I mean, the only thing that it's kind of terrible. I've never, I shouldn't say this, but in the early days, I used to be a big fan of EastEnders. I used to follow it all the time, and Dirty Den, you know, that's all, that was it, you know, that's all I was interested in. And then suddenly I just stopped watching it. I don't know what, I still, even to this day, I do not know.
It's because I left, didn't
You know what? You're right. It's because you left. I just went, you know what? There's no point. There's no point. And in fact, this was something I was going to come on to, was that for you, you know, being in EastEnders, it's a big thing. It's part of everyday life for people. You know, they go to work, they come back, and they're watching EastEnders. For you as an actor, did that change? How did you deal with that as such, in the sense it's such a massive change whereby everyone knows you for being on EastEnders, and even to this day, 20 odd years later, people still remember you for that. And then suddenly you're no longer on that, I was going to say pedestal, but you are put on that pedestal by people, perhaps by the media as well. Was that something difficult for you to deal with as such, or was that, and I'm perhaps looking at this from an actor's perspective, whereby you're on such a high, and then suddenly it's like, wait there, what's my next job? What am I going to do next? That kind of thing. And what I'm asking.
I didn't really have that feeling. And when you're doing it, you're working so hard, and I was working so hard, that you kind of don't even think about that. And as I say, I was well known before because I'd been on, you know, lots of television, you know, from the 70s, you know, and played leading roles and stuff. So it wasn't like a shock to me to be noticed or famous or recognized, because I was always recognized for Gloria or Loretta, when the series I did Get Back, or Dorothy in London's Burning. So it wasn't as much that, which is fine. You know, that's been part of my life since kind of the very beginning. But I guess afterwards, I never really thought about what job was I going to do next, because I'd always worked. I'd done very diverse roles, comedy, as I say, you know, drama. I'd done one-woman shows. I'd done lots and lots of theatre, worked at the Royal Court, the National, and all this. So I didn't really think about not working anymore, or what was my next role going to be. I was kind of looking forward to whatever was going to happen. But unfortunately, not a lot did for a little while, because I guess because I was known for that part. And then I was offered, the things I was offered were very typecast, rather than before, as I say, that was more diverse. That people could see that I could play so many different characters, and I was kind of just offered sort of Louise type parts of seducing young men, which is very nice, but you know, you can do a bit more than that. And not always the characters as great, you know, and there was these. And because I would hit my 40s by then, I get these scripts that said, oh, you know, mutton dressed up as lamb and all that stuff, you know, because somehow you think about, oh, if a woman who's working class looks like a certain, you know, doesn't want to look middle-aged or something, she has to be some sort of category of being a loose woman or something, you know, which is you know, I didn't like that, and I didn't like some of the roles I was offered the typecasting. And then I kind of found it to be, you know, quite difficult to get other types of role. And I think part of that was my, you know, ageism a little bit, you know, and the fact that I was kind of known for that role, because sometimes when you do things really well, it can be a bit of a hindrance. So it was a change. And actually, I was a writer as well, and an MA in screenwriting for going into EastEnders, because I was offered the EastEnders job. I'd actually got my place at university before I went in that. So I decided to go back to university and get my MA.
Wow.
Which I did. So went to university in my 40s. And that was kind of something for myself to prove, you know, that I didn't pass my 11 plus. I'm dyslexic, but I've been a writer for many years for television, alongside my acting. So, and people say, well, you don't need to. You've written for television. You'll write more for television. You've got an agent. You're well known. Why do you want to do that? But it was kind of for me, for my own satisfaction, I guess, of knowing that you don't have to be this great intellectual to have gone to university and got the letters after your name. So that's kind of what I concentrated on for quite some time, and then I did lots of theatre, and then I kind of got back into my writing when I certainly started developing the musical.
I was going to say, this is where it's brought you today. I know that you wrote this musical, and perhaps, well, this is the reason why we're here today, and I'm chatting to you, is to find out more about your musical as well. So this was a musical which is called All or Nothing. Is that right?
Yeah, it was called All or Nothing. And it's a passion project, really, because in the 60s I was identified with being a mod. I was quite young, but you can still be a mod. And then the music I absolutely loved and adored, and the style. And so I was a mod in the East End, and but also the lead singer of Small Faces, Steve Marriott, I knew from when I was a kid, because he comes from the same part of the East End as me, and him and my cousins were mates and mods together. And so I first met him when I was like 9. I think I was 8 or 9. So, and he was amazing, and I had this little girl crush on him. He was fantastic, and I loved their music. And so when I wanted to write, and you kind of reflect about growing up in the 60s, which was an incredible time, and there was so much social change. For the first time, working class people became artists in their own right, and we're breaking down the class, trying to break down the class barriers and stuff like that. And so I wanted to write about that, and I wanted to write about the excitement and the feeling of hope, and that whole style, and obviously, which was incredible of that time, was the music and the fashion. So it was kind of bringing all of that together. And to me, the obvious choice was the music of the Small Faces, because it's also very London. I wanted to bring across my language, the London language, and the London that I want people to see and preserve and realize it's real own culture. And they brought that into their music.
Is that in terms of Cockney rhyming slang within that, or
yeah, there's lots of Cockney rhyming slang in there, because that is my culture, and we still use it. And the Small Faces used it a lot. Stevie used it all the time. And you make up your own. When my family are all around at dinner, we make up our own, like go, oh, pass the Pinky and Perky, and stuff like that.
It's a good job you're not doing it, because I'd be having to get a dictionary out.
Yeah, but that's part of it. It's kind of because that's why it was like more of a secret society, Yeah. So I wanted to bring all that together, and then realizing the story of the Small Faces, which is the classic rock and roll story of like exploitation, really, of that time, of these great young people who created all this wonderful work and came out with very little at the end of it, really. And I feel that they're the most underrated band of that time, but the most respected, in the sense that you speak to other musicians and they go, oh my God, Steve Marriott, oh my God, Ronnie Lane, McLagan, they're just brilliant, and he's inspiring. Also Stevie Marriott, which is very much about, inspired a lot of other generations of music. So even after that was like Paul Weller, he was, he was Paul Weller's idol, and also then into the Britpop, and mod is something that keeps being, it never goes away. We've still got mods now, young mods
with the story
today, and it was revived in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
With the story itself, what do you look at? Are you kind of following the story of Small Faces, and obviously the ups and downs that they individually
it's
face?
like, the sort of roller coaster journey of their career. but it brings in all those other elements. That's what I'm trying to say, sorry, and the other music of that era. But it is their story of their kind of rise and kind of demise in many ways, you know. So you follow their story through the music as well, because the music is so important. And I wanted to bring a musical that's not like a musical. It's more like a play with music. And the music is actually played live as if you were at a gig.
Oh, okay, wow.
So that's the essence of it, and that's the feeling. And it was I've developed it, and it took a long time to get it off the ground because it doesn't meet the criteria of musical. And people going, well, I don't think people will, who are the small faces. But I said, listen, there's this whole community that is mods, and people are still mods, and they still meet every weekend, and they're still going out, even at my age, in their 60s, who want to go and see something that reflects them. So that was the stage show, and that was the idea of the stage show, and very little been done about Maud as well, apart from Quadrophenia, which is brilliant, that's a film. So I wanted to bring that to the theatre and bring it live. So it took a long while to get on because of all the doubting and all the trying to raise the money and stuff like that, and a lot of blood, sweat and tears, but I eventually did and brought it to London in 2016. It was a huge hit. Huge, people couldn't get enough of it, and then we toured it for 2 years, and then it went into the West End, and some people have seen it over 30 times.
Brilliant.
People come back again and again and again. And then when after the West End, the show finished, and we because we've got so many fans and people want it so much and going, oh, please bring it back, please bring it here. And obviously we can't do that at the moment. And then COVID struck, obviously, and everything. So I created the All or Nothing experience, which is like a concert show, which is smaller, much smaller version. It's not real scenery and stuff like that, but we conjure it all there with the acting and the dancing through the music. And that's the All or Nothing experience. And that's what we're bringing to Shropshire, and that's the show now. And we've done that at several places around the country. We do it at the Half Moon in Putney, which is a great iconic venue, and people have a fantastic time, and they're dancing in the aisles, and it's very joyful, whereas the play took you through all of their story and a lot of the heartache of that as well, and then made you laugh. This is a very joyful and will make you laugh and dance and want to sing and dance, and our audiences do. And then we play a second set where we play some of the greatest, grooviest tunes of the 60s that we feel also represent that time as well, and everybody joins in, and so it's a fabulous show.
So with your current version that you're doing, the story's still within it, but obviously...
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes, it tells the story, absolutely.
So it's not a case of where you want people to come along and sit down. You want people to get up and boogie.
Yeah, well, people, when we played in the theatre, people would sit down, but they'd soon be up on their feet and dancing. And there's some things going, oh, we don't encourage people to get up. And we go, well, we do. We do. Get up, Yeah, get up and enjoy yourself. But if you want to sit down, the old pins are a bit like dodgy these days.
How difficult was it for you in terms of firstly gathering the information in terms of research, and then kind of cutting it down, going, we don't really need that, or we do need this, or was that quite?
It wasn't difficult to gain the information because obviously I know what the 60s, and I knew Steve Marriott, and I knew his family, and so I researched it by going to his family, going to people who were around at the time, like P.P. Arnold, who was, people will remember, did Tin Soldier with them, and Steve wrote music for her, and at the time, and she's a friend of mine, so we became friends, and so I gained information from her. Ronnie Lane, also, they all came from the area. Ronnie Lane was Forest Gate as well, and so I went to his family, I'm friends with his brother Stan, and I knew Kenny so it wasn't difficult gathering so much the information. And I went to see his mum, who I played in the musical as well, Kay, and she liked me in EastEnders, so she was okay about me like playing her. She's quite you're glamorous enough, because I was very glamorous. So it was really like researching from what was out there, what was written about it, but also the inside story, and his daughters, the family, because Molly Marriott was our vocal coach on it, and Molly's Stevie's daughter. And as I say, PP was involved, PP Arnold, Sandy Sargent, who was the main dancer on Ready Steady Go, the best dancer ever, who was married to Ian McLagan. She's a friend too, so she's been, part of it. And it was kind of bringing their kids in as well, like Ronnie's children, Ruben and Luke and Lee McLagan and stuff. So it was a way of involving them as well. And Tonya Marriott, who's I just saw on Monday, who lives in Canada. But so yeah, it was kind of, it came from that as well, of actually speaking to the family, knowing the family. But there's such an immense, tremendous amount of story and material and anecdotes and great adventures and stuff. It was so difficult to condense that and what to leave out, and also trying to bring in the whole feeling of the 60s with that. It was very difficult to let anything go, but you have to mold it and shape it. Yeah. And that's why we workshopped it quite a lot till we got the end result that we wanted.
I was going to say, in terms of names that you use, do you sometimes have to go, well, wait there, so I don't want to give maybe a spoiler alert or something. I don't know it. I'm just doing a little bit of reading about some people who may have acted in a certain way towards the band, which was quite negative. So they may not have got royalties and what have you. It's out on the internet anyway. So is it a case of you can use those people's names to say it was that person, or do you have to change the name as such and kind of go, wait there's a bit of a creative license? Maybe.
Oh, well. You mean managements when yeah. Well, no, it's all documented.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So I can say Sharon. So I can say Sharon Osbourne's dad.
It's notorious, and he enjoyed it. I think that's right. He had put through the same situation of like not getting the royalties, and say he was known as the Al Capone of pop. So and there's a very famous story of him when someone else tried to poach them. Another very big music producer called Rob Stigbush, obviously get the small faces off him, and he came around there with the geezers and then hung him out a window.
So look, let me know, Carol, when can people...
Fourth floor window.
Oh
so he was,
What I wanted to know is when are these performances? Sorry, when are these performances and when is the show?
It's in June, and my head's full of different dates at the moment. I think it's the 24th that we play.
Okay.
I believe. I hope so. We better check that.
No, I'll get that. I'll check that out. And is that in Shropshire itself?
Yeah, we're coming to the steps.
Yeah.
In Shropshire, we're performing there. We're actually doing our next gig is Cambridge. We just did Chroma, and so if you go onto Rock and Roll Productions website, you can see all the pictures from Chroma of the experience as well that we've just done, and little video clips and stuff. And then we've got some other gigs coming up later. We've got the Half Moon in Putney, at the Jubilee weekend, and then we've got performances in Blackpool, and of course, obviously, August bank holidays, because I live in Brighton. I'm here in Brighton at the moment, and that's like kind of the spiritual home of mods. So mods descend on Brighton at the August bank holiday, which is like a remembrance of the bundle on the beach, the battle on the beach.
Yeah.
The 64. So every bank holiday weekend, all the mods come here. So we're playing three dates there, in Brighton at the August bank holiday, and then we play Clapton. So yeah, we're taking it all over. Weston-super-Mare we're going to, yeah. So we've got lots of gigs coming up, but the essential one, I think, for your area will be the theatre, which is on the steps, and it's quite small and intimate, so that will be a great experience, I think, and tickets are on sale now. So and we do feel that the intimate experience is actually amazing. It's like seeing a really great, when you say, oh, I saw a really great band in this pub or whatever, on this, and it's something that sticks in your mind forever, So yeah, we'll if you just go to the website, which is rockandrollproductions.co.uk, you'll see all our upcoming gigs. But as I say, we are coming to the steps on June, I think it's 24th or 25th. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. I'll get that. I'll get that, and I'll mention that.
If you can add that tag, that would be great.
I will do. It's so lovely chatting to you. What's next for you? Because obviously this is something that's done. It's going out. I assume you'll probably go to a few of the events, not all of them, or unless you are touring with them.
Oh no, I'm in it.
Oh, you're in it. Okay.
I'm in it.
Oh, you're in it. So you are.
I direct it. I write it, direct it. I'm in it.
You're in it. Oh God. Oh, there's me thinking you just wrote it and that was it. No.
Oh no. I do everything.
You're okay.
No, I'm in it. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I will be there. I will
Brilliant.
be there at the events.
So you sing as well?
Yeah, I sing. Yeah.
Great. No, that's brilliant. That is wonderful. So
dancing, the whole shebang. But so yeah, I'm at every performance as well. So yeah, I'd love to see everybody there. And yeah, get your tickets. Hopefully we can, have a really nice time, because it's just so fabulous to be back on stage again and playing live. Absolutely amazing. And we really celebrate that, and people really have a great time. And I think that's what we all need. A rocking good night out.
Yeah. So something I didn't know was that. So I put my hand up in the air. I didn't hear a Small Faces. It was that whole kind of thing. When I was younger, yeah, maybe I saw the movie Quadrophenia, and obviously I knew about the mods and everything else that was going on. So, and suddenly I'm researching it, and I'm going, wait there, this band's had 14 hits. It had 5 amazing albums. These weren't small. I mean, they were at the forefront, as you say, rightly, in terms of the music itself, and it's a really good story that you're telling that I think a lot of people don't know, and it captures that particular time period itself and shows. Very much. And from what I gather, it shows that whole thing of sometimes you just need to be perhaps lucky with the people that you meet, and lucky in the places that you are, where you go on to be quite successful, because they were going on at the same time as the Rolling Stones, weren't they? It was they were all kind of vying for sales.
All those bands grew up around the same time and did the same venues, like the Marquee Club, the Sing Club, Whiskey A Go Go, all those bands and they were all born out of this feeling of loving R&B, American, R&B music, and that's what and blues, and that's what they wanted to play, and that's what they created, this sort of British R&B scene, and that's why a lot of R&B artists and black artists did better here in England than they did in the States, like Hendrix and P.P. Arnold, and because they were part of the same scene. Eric Clapton, they were all involved in it, and they all knew each other, and they all played together. And the thing about Small Faces is that they didn't travel to the States, and Stevie walked out on them at the height of their popularity, but then they went on to be in other bands, obviously, as well. And Steve Marriott formed Humble Pie with Pete Frampton, and then obviously Ronnie, Kenny, and Mac were the Faces, and Steve and Rod Stewart became their lead singer. and Kenny Jones later, after Keith Moon died, played with the Who for a while as well, and their careers continued. And Ronnie Lane wrote wonderful songs and wrote with Pete Townsend, so that their careers went on, and they've influenced these amazing bands like the Jam, as I say, who took their whole look from the Small Faces. His gestures and everything, and also Steve Craddock from Ocean Colour Scene, you know, through the 90s. So they did have huge hits as well. And Ogden's Not Gone Flake was an amazing album at the time, was in the #1 in the charts for 6 weeks, the album charts. But they didn't get that break in America. And I think a lot of that was kind of down to Don Arden not wanting them to go there in some ways. And I think if they had, then they'd be a lot more known. But once Steve formed Humble Pie, they were enormous in the States in the 70s. So I don't, you know, I mean, Don Arden did a lot for him because he elevated, and they'd only been together for 6 weeks and they were in the charts with What You Gonna Do About It. So that was his artistry. But they were, you know, Steve especially was incredibly talented, and he'd been an actor, went to Italy Conti, he played Artful Dodger in Oliver. And he had this incredible voice. You've got to remember, if you listen to their songs, you know, he was 17, 18, you know, up to 21 when he's singing these. It was like a voice of a 40-year-old then, you know, with all the soul. And he's been said that he's the best blue-eyed soul singer this country's ever had, you know, or certainly one of them.
No, that's
you know,
wonderful. Yeah.
So that, and I think people don't realise that that's their tune until you hear it sometimes, because people who come are actual Small Faces fans, but they bring other people, and they bring their kids and their grandkids as well, you know, now. And then suddenly they're all turned onto it, and they go, oh my God, I didn't realise that was their song. You know, Itchy-Coo Park, you know, What You Gonna Do About It, and Lazy Sunday. And the funny thing is, often now, whenever you see something that's quite poignant on telly, you hear their tunes played, you know, like All or Nothing's played quite a lot. And Lazy Sunday, I think there was something on the other day that I heard that's played in the background and stuff. But as I say, they influenced so many other people, so their legend kind of lives on.
Yeah.
But this is the actual root story and the feeling of being there at that time, and really hearing their music raw and live for the first time.
Definitely something we all want to hear. One last thing was is it true Small Faces was because they were all under 5'5"?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you under 5'5"? Otherwise you can't play. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
You are. Okay.
We were much smaller in those days. We had rationing, you know.
I was waiting for you to say no. I know I'm 5'8".
Yeah, no, I'm 6 foot. Obviously. No, I'm teeny. I'm 5'2". I'm 5'2". And yeah, that was quite good, being able to write something about small people. Yeah. But you know, the mod look is very good for being small. And
no,
but yeah, and that was the hardest part about casting, because they had to act, really be fantastic actors, but play amazingly. And for Steve to have that voice, find someone with that voice, and then be small, that was the hardest part, because you could actually hear someone and see their show reel, and you know, say, oh, they can come in, but then you look down and it says 6 foot. And so we couldn't have them. Everyone used to be measured by me. So they go, oh no, I'm 5'8", and I go and stand there and go, I don't think so. You know, so, yeah, that's really small, which is great. Yeah, let's hear it for the small people.
Yeah, no, I had visions of you having a false stage at the back where it's kind of dropped down, so they just look smaller.
No, they actually
look, they're all the same height. But look,
Yeah.
Carol, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you too.
And I'll send out more details about it. So I'm going to just stop recording. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.